In today's market, the smartest companies won't hire influencers. They'll turn their employees into creators. Starbucks embraced it. Ecolab did it. The Ramsey Network built a $300 million business doing it. I've spent 15 years directing on-camera performances and coaching creator-led marketing strategies. And today, I'm breaking down why employee-generated content is set to explode, why it works better than influencer campaigns, and what this means if you're a founder, executive, or employee trying to figure out where you fit in the creator economy. I'm Opfer, creative entrepreneur, media professional, and camera confidence coach. I've worked with everyone from Fortune 500 brands to small business owners to independent creators, helping them master communication, build camera confidence, and launch creator-led marketing systems. And what I've been watching closely is the major shift happening right now in how companies approach their organic content strategy and content creation. Traditional corporate marketing is withering away, organic reach is eroding, and establishing trust as a faceless, generic brand continues to be more and more of an impossibility as your online audience yearns for real stories and content that feels human. Less stock footage, less polished, less processed. Brands fervently need to get away from the anemic content that shouts, "This was approved by 13 stakeholders in suits sitting in a boardroom." So what's the solution? Employee-generated content. Let's break this down. First, let's talk about why traditional corporate content is collapsing and organic reach is eroding across every platform. Teams are scaling back, budgets are tighter, and trust in brands keeps sliding. And that was before AI slop flooded the internet. At the same time, audiences are craving stories from real people. What sets successful founders and brands apart is their willingness to share real stories, failures, pivots, behind-the-scenes moments. Authenticity is the true currency of online influence. Audiences want to see the messy reality of building your brand. They want to see humans behind the logo. And the data backs this up. According to Nielsen, 92% of people trust recommendations from individuals over brands. Think about that. 9 out of 10 people would rather hear from a person than from a corporate account. That includes people in their immediate sphere, friends, family, colleagues. But what many don't consider is that the explosion of the creator economy and independent media has created those same elements of trust in a one-on-one digital relationship. People subscribe to individual creators online, engage with their content, and build deep rapport. They trust these creators and their insights, their recommendations, and they take their advice seriously as they would their own friends, family, or offline connections because of the relatability that the creator has cultivated between themselves as the creator and their audience. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Companies are losing young talent to the creator economy. In recent studies, 57% of Gen Zers said their career of choice would be to become an influencer as an alternative to traditional jobs. And over half of Gen Z, 53%, considers influencing a respectable career choice. Now, I challenge the influencer framework when I talk to younger people, because when they say I want to be an influencer, what they typically mean is I want to be rich and famous. Not everyone, but more often than not, when you really dig into the root of what they're after, that is what they desire. That's why there's a lot of stigma that comes from people outside the creator economy when it comes to being an influencer, and why I personally dislike the term, not the profession, but the term influencer. While there is overlap in creating organic content, an influencer and a creator are two separate things. I break this down in a separate video, I'll link it below. But here's the point. They want to build a better life by leveraging the creator economy. Gen Z and millennials don't want 30-year corporate careers. They don't want task-oriented work that makes them feel like a cog in a wheel, a system where they have no stake in the outcome. They're tired of being siloed, unable to use their full range of skills, imagination, and creative abilities. They want purpose and creative fulfillment. They want autonomy and self-expression. They want to build community, something that's truly theirs. It's one of the most alluring aspects of building a personal brand. It's the intersection of purpose and profit. And when companies ignore that, they bleed talent. Those talented employees start side hustles, they launch YouTube channels, or go all in on building their own media platforms to compensate for the lack of fulfillment in their full-time roles. So now companies are in a bind. On one hand, they need content that's effective in capturing attention and driving desired action for their brand. And on the other, they need to retain employee talent. And they need to do both without burning through budgets, paying exorbitant fees to influencers, or attempting to build massive in-house production teams. And then, of course, having to lose a bunch of money in turnover of having to rehire and train new employees. So that's the tension. And employee-generated content, EGC, is the answer. So what is employee-generated content? It's simple. Instead of hiring external influencers or relying on sterile corporate marketing, companies empower their own employees to harness the creator economy and create their own content as a personal brand under the banner of the company they are employed by. And let me clarify some quick terminology. UGC, user-generated content, refers to customer-created content. These are people outside your organization who create content about your brand. And the problem, paying external creators for marketing can be unpredictable, hard to scale, and inconsistent. EGC, employee-generated content, is far more controllable, cost-effective, and scalable, and way more authentic. Here's why it works. Employees get a creative outlet, they get to build their personal brands, they get fulfillment that keeps them loyal to the company, and the company, they get authentic content that gains trust far more than anything the marketing team could produce. Employee-generated content can also be an accelerator to bolster any existing marketing campaigns. It's the best of both worlds, and the performance data is staggering. Employee-shared content generates 561% more reach than brand channels. It gets 8 times more engagement than corporate posts, and when employees reshare content, it's reshared 24 times more often than corporate posts. And that's not a marginal improvement. I mean, that's a fundamental reordering of content performance. Think about it from the employee's perspective. You're working a full-time job, you are called to some higher purpose or creative expression. You feel the pull of the creator economy. You see people your age building personal brands, making money on YouTube or Instagram, turning side hustles into careers, but you also value stability with a full-time company. You're not ready to quit and go all in, but that tension becomes highly distressing to the point where it can affect your performance. EGC gives you both. You get to scratch your creative itch, build a personal brand, and stay inside the structure of a company that supports you. Even if employees don't aspire to build an income-producing personal brand, they can still enjoy being a creator and a featured personality for your organization. Companies should encourage this among willing employees. They'll feel more valued, more involved with the brand, and more invested in the business's success. Now think about it from a company's perspective. You need content, you need trust, you need reach, you need to be discoverable across all platforms, including AI search. Hiring influencers is expensive and often feels inauthentic. Only 5% of consumers completely trust influencer content, with 80% citing lack of transparency as the top trust killer. Building an in-house production team is slow and resource intensive, but your employees, they're already embedded in the culture, they already understand the product and your solutions, and they already have a network. And when they create simple content with their smartphone, it doesn't feel like marketing, it feels like a clever conversation. Brands who deputize their employees to represent them in the creator economy are allowing their employees to take identity-based action. You're asking them to express themselves in the way that is most authentic to their own personal brand as an employee representing the organization. So you're not turning them into corporate mouthpieces. You're giving them permission and the resources to be free-thinking creators. And that shift from a company cog to creator, from worker to media personality, is fun and powerful. And because this is so new and really untapped, companies have many ways to make it mutually beneficial. They can offer paid incentives, performance-based bonuses, profit sharing, revenue share based on engagement, content performance, and sales, or they can invest in their employees to help them build out their own personal brands, covering costs for editors or social media assistants, building digital infrastructures and creative workflows. They can hire professionals like me to help their employees launch within 30 days and fast-tracking strategy and minimizing friction so they can focus on creating, not overthinking. Best of all, this entire strategy becomes a retention flywheel. When talent research your company, they're not only going to find a forward-thinking company that is embracing the creator economy as part of its overall marketing strategy, they're going to see firsthand what day-to-day life is like from the content that those team members, your employees, are creating, because they'll see it directly from their accounts, from their own lived experience. And that has more impact and trust than any Glassdoor review ever will. That's a competitive advantage you can't buy. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Starbucks launched an employee creator program last year. They call it Global Coffee Creators Program. They tapped two people, Juliana and Josiah, Starbucks baristas, to travel the world, capture the Starbucks coffee story, and share it on TikTok. Now, these aren't corporate spokespeople. They're not actors reading scripts. They're real employees with real passion for coffee. And that authenticity comes through. When they talk about the care that goes into every cup, when they highlight the farmers, the partners around the world, it doesn't feel like an ad. It feels like someone who genuinely cares about sharing something that they love. Starbucks also piloted something called Green Apron Creators, a program where baristas create authentic social content about working at Starbucks in their voice for the company's social channels. And here's what's brilliant about this. It's not just great content, it's also a development opportunity that resonates with Gen Z, which makes up the majority of their baristas. It helps drive sales and connection because it extends the coffeehouse experience beyond the physical walls of the store. This is employee-generated content at scale, and it works because it's very real. Now you may be watching this and thinking, Austin, Starbucks is a coffee company and they're creative oriented. Everyone loves coffee, and you think of coffee shops and you think of music artists, and it's a place where people are more free-flowing and creative. That's not our company. Fine. Let's look at a different example. Something that's not going to be perceived from the general populace as creative. What could be more stuffy than chemical manufacturing? Ecolab, a B2B company, noticed that one of their employees, Aiden Doman, had a natural talent for creating short-form video content. So they partnered with him to create content for the company's LinkedIn presence. Now, most B2B brands struggle with short-form video. It's hard to make industrial cleaning solutions feel engaging. But Aiden made it work. Why? Because he's not a marketing agency trying to make something boring look exciting. He's an employee who understands the product, believes in the mission, and knows how to communicate that in a way that feels authentic, human, and humorous. This is radical simplicity in action. Instead of hiring an agency, running a complex campaign, and trying to manufacture authenticity, Ecolab found their answer sitting in their own office. One employee with camera confidence and creative instincts became the content marketing solution the company needed. And here's the business impact. Leads generated through employee advocacy convert at 7 times higher rates than leads from other channels. Cost per lead dropped 75% compared to traditional marketing. That's complete restructuring of B2B marketing through organic content strategy. Think about it strategically. With both examples, consider how much content and free marketing you could generate from your employees' everyday work. You send employees across the country or around the world to conferences, meetings, and various business needs. They represent your company in different cities, cultures, and markets. These are endless stories, perspectives, and content opportunities that could be leveraged in the creator economy through employee-generated content. And this comes at minimal expense. All it takes is some guidance, a small allocation of resources, gear, and a bit of digital infrastructure, and most importantly, getting out of their way to let the creators create. If you're watching this and thinking, I want to understand how to build creator-led marketing systems, whether it's inside a company or on my own, I've built something just for you. Creator Legion is my free weekly newsletter where I break down the psychology of camera confidence, creator-led marketing, and high-performance communication. I send frameworks, case studies, and systems you can actually use. Join the legion of creators and entrepreneurs at the link in the description. And make sure you're subscribed here. I publish deep dive videos every week on camera confidence and creator strategy. Now let me show you one of my favorite ultimate examples of employee generated content, the Ramsey Network. Personal finance, another incredibly traditional, often esoteric and bland subject matter, math and numbers. And yet, Dave Ramsey, being the prolific visionary and business-oriented man that he is, understands the value of personal branding and the story element that impacts psychology. Like he always says, personal finance is 80% behavior. Dave Ramsey started at a card table and he built a $300 million business and has expanded into the creator economy. Podcasting, YouTube, social media. He didn't just scale his own brand, he brought on co-hosts and empowered them to build their own personal brands under the Ramsey Network banner. And here's what happened. Those co-hosts became best-selling authors, they became global speakers, they launched their own YouTube channels, some with over 1 million subscribers. They built independent media platforms, and yet they still fall under the Ramsey Network umbrella. The numbers tell the story. The Ramsey Show became only the 4th podcast globally to reach 1 billion downloads. It reaches 18 million listeners weekly across platforms. When they launched video on Spotify, their audience grew 400%. This is the ultimate EGC playbook. Dave Ramsey didn't just build a company, he built a creator network. He helped his co-hosts build massive personal brands with assistance from his distribution and resources, from the legacy of his Ramsey company. But they still drive value back to Ramsey. And that's not competition, that's compound leverage. Think about what this means. Employees get creative fulfillment, personal brand growth, and huge financial upside. The company gets authentic content, massive distributed reach to a variety of audience demographics that get to listen to real humans talking about real topics and problems, not sanitized corporate messaging. The cherry on top? A self-propelling talent retention strategy that actually works. Ramsey, they now have over 800 team members and have been recognized as one of the best places to work in Nashville for over a decade. This is what happens when you stop treating employees like replaceable workers and start empowering them with autonomy to be creators. So why does employee-generated content work so well? First, trust dynamics. People trust people over brands. We already covered that 92% Nielsen stat, but here's what that actually means. When an employee creates content, audiences process it differently. They see the person in that one-on-one capacity that they relate to, not over-beautified stock imagery like a bad pharma commercial that we're all sick of seeing. And that one-on-one approach creates connection in a way that corporate marketing simply can't. Second, authenticity. Employees sound real because they are real. They're not trying to manufacture emotion or stay within the rigid confines of corporate vernacular or some sales funnel. They're not reading from a teleprompter that's been approved by 13 stakeholders. They're speaking from personal experience, and audiences can tell the difference. Third, reach amplification. When employees share content, it reaches their personal networks, and those networks are often more engaged than a corporate page's followers. Research shows that branded messages shared by employees get reshared 24 times more often than corporate posts. That's a 24x multiplier just by changing who hits publish. Fourth, talent retention. Employees stay because they get something most companies don't offer: a creative outlet, a stake in building something bigger. They're now creating something that makes them feel connected to the company and their mission. They're building a personal brand that compounds value for both them and the company. And fifth, cost efficiency. Employee-generated content costs a fraction of what influencer campaigns or in-house agencies would cost. It performs better than sterile corporate content, and it creates long-term value instead of one-off vanity metrics. This is a fundamental shift in how companies can build long-term trust and distribute content that markets to your desired audience organically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're a founder, executive, or a leader watching this and thinking, how do I actually implement this? Here's the framework. First, identify natural creators. Who's already posting, who has camera confidence, who has creative instincts. Don't try to force people into this. Find the ones who are already leaning in. Second, provide guardrails and training. Give them brand voice guidelines, help them understand compliance and set those clear boundaries that are needed, but do not micromanage. The moment you try to puppeteer them with corporate speak, you're going to completely kill the authenticity and undermine this whole thing. Remember, the content should feel like it comes directly from them and their own thought process, not anything that the company is trying to Trojan horse through them. Don't run employee content through your normal approval process. Give them the tools and the guardrails, then get out of their way. If you're worried about inappropriate posts, consider this. If someone is trusted enough to be an employee and a brand creator, they'll likely self-regulate. Their personal reputation is on the line, not just a corporate account. This is essentially going to become their digital resume. So if they're an employee with your company, obviously you already did the diligence to vet them for character qualities befitting to work for your company. So there has to be a balance of trusting them to represent you in the right way, but you have to take your hands off the steering wheel and let the employees create, since it is for their own personal accounts. So you need to find that synergy of what's going to be representative of the company without being micromanagers of the employees. Give them the resources they want. Maybe have a menu they can choose from to help cultivate some ideas, and then get out of their way. If there are technical topics that need accuracy, you can address those things up front with training and resources. But think of this like a finger trap. The harder you try to pull and control, the tighter things get. So the whole point is giving the employees autonomy to be themselves and create on their terms. You can offer ideation, support, or suggest topics, but let them make what they want to make. Give them the resources and get out of their way. Third is to build internal creator community. Support them, recognize them, and let them collaborate. Make this feel like a movement and not some corporate mandate. Give them their own ecosystem that they can live in and color outside the lines. Fourth, you want to recognize and reward participation. Bonuses, equity, career advancement. Make it clear that this isn't just a feel-good opportunity, that it is a serious component of the business and marketing strategy. Show employees who commit that this work has powerful implications for their own exposure and career trajectory. And fifth, give employees ownership. Let them build their personal brands. Don't try to own their content or own their audience. If you do, you're just creating resentment and smothering their self-concept. Okay, the companies that win will be the ones that empower employees to build something that is truly theirs, while still driving value back to the company. Here's the critical piece most companies miss. You need someone who can bridge both worlds. Someone who understands the language of the boardrooms and the rhythm of the creators. An intermediary who can translate creator culture into business strategy and business needs into creative freedom. This isn't optional anymore. Companies must build this into their official structure. Create intentional spaces, physical creator studios, designated collaboration zones, at least structured time for content creation or ideation. Give employees a sandbox to play in and then step back. As I mentioned earlier, I push back on people who want to become creators or influencers purely for wealth and fame. But I push back just as hard on companies that treat the creator economy like a cute little hobby instead of a legitimate business strategy. This disconnect is the biggest gap in the market and the most expensive blind spot. The biggest challenge I face is getting established companies to see YouTube and video-based organic marketing as essential infrastructure, not a nice to have. They're stuck in old paradigms, wild bleeding young talent, and burning money in expensive campaigns that die quickly. The solution is integration. Make the creator economy part of your organizational structure and strategy, not just Slack channel chatter and weekly check-ins, actual verticals and dedicated departments and intentional employee creator programs within the company that can leverage organic video-based content and incentivize employee-generated creativity. This is the bridge between the new generation's hunger for purpose, creativity, and fulfillment, and companies' needs for retention, quality talent, and authentic marketing that actually builds trust. Here's what it comes down to. In the past year, brands realized the old playbook is not working. Organic reach on social media platforms is dwindling. Trust in corporate messaging is at an all-time low. Influencer campaigns feel manufactured because influencers are just paid mouthpieces, and employees are leaving to build their own media platforms around their passions. Today, the smartest companies will trust their people to help write the next playbook. They'll cultivate creativity with employees and embrace the creator economy with their existing team members. They'll give them the tools, the training, and the freedom to build personal brands that drive value for everyone. If you're a founder or executive, stop depending on influencers and start empowering your existing team. You're more than likely sitting on a winning content strategy within your existing team. And if you're an employee, building a personal brand is an undeniable and integral component of both business and career trajectory. It now becomes your digital resume. At worst, it becomes something you can reference for opportunities, and it'll help you stand out as an employee and benefit the company you represent. And at best, it becomes an ancillary business that produces more exposure and income, or even allows you to stand on your own 2 feet as an entrepreneur or full-time creator. Build your personal brand inside your company. And if you're watching this thinking, I don't have camera confidence or even the first clue of how to start in the creator economy, that's exactly why this channel exists. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it is a byproduct of action. And the companies that understand this, the ones that take the best next step and invest in their people's passions, that give them the space to create, those are the ones that will dominate in the future. If this was helpful, subscribe and hit the bell for weekly videos on camera confidence, creator-led marketing, and building video-based personal brands that compound trust and demand. For deeper insights and weekly field notes on creator lifestyle, join Creator Legion, my free weekly newsletter, linked below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.